Dan. Dan.
Yeah.
Penrith won. Yeah. Hey, well, welcome back to another episode of Rugby League Outlaws, brought to you by our good friends at Top Sport, onelittlefootyfan.com.au and the Stubby Club. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Dan, Rugby League is over for another season.
The longest possible time before Rugby League.
At least we have a World Cup.
We do. We have a World Cup, 2 weeks away. Exciting stuff. The fixtures are friendly for those that are supporting the Kangaroos. A couple of Sunday mornings, quite good. Not ideal, but football.
Yeah, and the teams are starting to get trimmed down now, and there's some players on hold that will probably still travel, but you know, if you get an injury, pulled aside. Tonight, though, we're going to go through and grade 15 teams. 15
teams will lead the Sharkies for next week.
But before we go, we have some news. I think we need to congratulate all our grand finalists, but we also need to congratulate me.
Yes.
For winning a perfect round.
Grand final weekend.
And if you had got on all my multis, like me this morning, you are a very, very rich person.
That's fantastic to hear, Terry. And humble as always.
As always. Now, we'll start with the State Cup.
Yeah, if we must. Jacob Gagan, former Shark great, drops the ball over the line, 6-0 down, could have been 6-all. Penrith go up and score about 8 unanswered tries. Game over. People are calling for it to be kicked out. Said, no more of this rubbish. I can't remember the last time there was a good game. I can.
Yeah. Just go back and have a look at 2019.
The last game that was played. Now, it does seem like a decade ago, but few I will never forget. Jackson Ferris gets the bounce, runs away and scores, breaks the hearts. After the bell, brilliant. But I can see some merit because New South Wales Cup is up here and Queensland Cup is down here.
When it started, when this State Cup started, the Q Cup was the dominant one. Now all the players are coming, you know, the good players. And you have a look at the clubs that are the top of the premiership. They're the ones whose feeder clubs are excelling.
Yep.
And it's also not the New South Wales Cup team's fault that they take it seriously while the Q Cup get on the cans the whole time.
Yeah, look, it's a difference in culture. And I mean, Penrith, you know, all the players, because if injuries or COVID ran through, they were all a shot at a grand final, for real. So, I mean, you know, they came in, whereas the Devils obviously came in back party time. Lost Tyson Gamble on the day, which was a big out for them. But look, not for one single second did I think Penrith weren't going to romp that in.
Yeah, no, and Jermaine Hopgood as well. His last game at Penrith, captains the state championship, man of the match on the day, 2 tries, over 200 metres, going to the Parramatta Eels. Sonny Luke, the heir apparent to Api Coruscant.
Not a bad audition for the young fella.
Yeah, not bad at all. Look,
I think there's merit in the game being played.
It's fun. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to open the gates at 4 o'clock and boring.
I like it, but as a contest.
I could see merit if you're going to put Jersey flag on there. Just put them all on there.
Yeah, put them all in the day. I agree. More grand finals.
Yeah. Now, the NRLW, spectacular. Congratulations to the Newcastle Knights. First ever premiership. Some teething problems, went into the competition last year, didn't win a game. Recruited heavily. Millie Boyle, Tamika Upton.
Southwell on debut, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, her sister Hannah as well, copping that Achilles injury, but still being there. They were incredible.
Very, very good game. Started Parramatta, you know, scored first, Cronulla Sharks Jr., which was good to see. And then Newcastle said, no, not today. It was theirs to lose. I'm glad to see they won it. I really love the vision of the bus pulling up, you know, 10:30 at night, celebrating. It means a lot. You've seen, you know, we got some long-suffering Newcastle fans who deserve it because they support Newcastle. They also deserve this win. It was fantastic. Game of the day for one.
The picture of Millie Boyle at McDonald's at 11 o'clock.
Full kit.
Full kit. Still in her boots is unbelievable. Now, that game there, it's, you know, I know people are calling this to not be called a curtain raiser or put it on a separate day or whatever. At the end of the game, there were 42,000 people there. There was still an hour and a half before Jimmy Barnes. But I honestly think if you put this at a standalone game at CommBank Stadium by itself, you'd maybe get half.
Yeah, if that. It's the same as New South Wales Cup. I mean, we saw Penrith and Newtown at Cogra, which is, you know, not real close to either, but not particularly far. And they're full of, it's 15 NRL first graders playing in that game. And the crowd was like 2,500. So, you know, we saw 4,500 at a home grand final in New South Wales Cup. I think it's a better standard than that, and better supported. So, yeah, I'm 10 to 12. Same as Women's Origin. It will be a standalone, but I mean...
Not yet.
running out in front of 42,000 people. And I know, a lot of the Parramatta fans were there early. We had some mates that were there just to support Newcastle in that game. So I wouldn't be changing it anytime soon. I can certainly see an argument for, but down the track.
There's no problem with this being the curtain raiser for the men's game because it still gets the respect that it deserves. They still give a man of the match. They give it all the airtime. All the interviews are done at the end of the game. It's a brilliant spectacle. Leave it as it is. Like, it ain't broke. Don't fix it.
Exactly right.
Now, speaking of broke, there's a lot of broken hearts in Parramatta. Their premiership drought continues. Long may they suffer. What did you make of the game?
Pretty boring stuff, to be honest. Never, ever, ever, for one single second, did I feel like Penrith were not going to win that game. In terms of quality, very good. Penrith were near perfect. That first half, I think...
One of the best first halves I've ever seen.
Newcastle, when they blew Parramatta away, it was game over. I think that was number one, this was number two. And that's including the Manly whitewash. They were better in the second half over Melbourne. It was game over. They were too good. You can't blame them for being too good. Parramatta, they didn't have their best game of the season, but they were arguably the second or third best team all year. So Penrith are just too good.
Way too good. Now, in the opening exchanges, first 6 minutes of the game, Parramatta were giving it everything to make 60 metres in the set, put a kick to Dylan Edwards or Brian Toto, but they were just devoid of ideas.
They had nothing. Moses couldn't get in. I thought Gutho, with all due respect, was probably their worst player up until the last 10 minutes. Look, Jacob Arthur came on, 12-0.
Yeah.
Try assist. If he starts, is it a different game? Absolutely not, but a fun little tidbit.
No, yeah, I mean, stats don't lie, but it was a tough game for the Parramatta spine to get involved in because after the 6-minute mark, they just got dominated.
It was game over. Look, earlier in the day, there were Fox Sports, I think it was, put an AFL graphic up, which was, peak Fox Sports NRL, saying that Penrith had all the advantages except in the forwards. The Penrith forwards obviously read that in the morning and said, not today, my friend, because they were untouchable. There
was a long period of that game as well where I was thinking, well, where's Campbell Gillard? Where's Paulo? Now, Brad Arthur got his game plan all wrong for this grand final. He went up to Townsville in the peak humidity, boiling hot, and flogged his forwards for 60 minutes, comes down on a cold Sydney night and goes, now everyone can have equal game time because it's the grand final. You got it wrong, Brad.
Yeah, it was horrible stuff. Look, I don't think any player on the field.
No.
I think Penrith had the best 13 players on the field, and Parramatta probably had the 14th.
You had to be perfect to beat this Penrith team this year, which is what it showed. And unfortunately for Parramatta, they weren't perfect. You make one error, you give them one sniff in a grand final, it's over.
Deserved winners. Cooper Cronk went in on hard on Wanga Blake, saying, they had to hide him, and Gutho was out of position trying to take the bombs. You can't carry plays, etc. You put anyone under those Cleary bombs. Now, I thought Blake was pretty good last night. He did have that big drop, which led to a try. But, overall, anyone was losing to Penrith.
What was Cooper Cronk talking about? This is a guy who won a premiership with Anthony Quinn and Steve Turner. You can carry passengers in a grand final. They just weren't good enough.
They weren't good enough. Congrats, Penrith. Sucks to say that, but...
better the devil you know.
Long may Parramatta suffer. Jerry.
Talk to me, Dan.
It's time to talk some rugby league for a change.
That's what we do.
Well, it is what we do. Better than anyone is the tagline I like to use. We're going to review 15 teams, saving the Sharks, of course, for next week. Because they're so good, they get their own show. And we're going to rate them. We're going to say whether they, succeeded, lost, best player, all that rubbish. We can go reverse order because it's more fun that way. Start with the Wests Tigers. Who finished with the wooden spoon.
F. Fail. This season was nothing but a failure.
Disgraceful. I had low expectations, and they couldn't even reach those.
But, no, they exceeded my low expectations. Sacking Michael Maguire with no game plan, Tim Sheens being a coward and not coming in and taking over, leaving Brett Camorley to take on the worst ever interim coach of all time. Camorley's coaching career has essentially been killed because of this coward.
Completely fair. I don't hate it.
No. Best player, I don't know, Norfoluma went all right for the Storm.
Yeah, he was good once he left.
Back-to-back Dane Laurie?
Yeah, he was okay. He was one of these players who, he played for the PM13, was fantastic because he was surrounded by first graders. Yeah. So I'm not willing to write him off by any stretch, but this was despicably bad. We make
One
fun.
of the worst teams I've ever seen in NRL.
Yeah, only Newcastle 2016 are worse. But we like to make fun because it's really easy and it's quite fun. Even we were disgusted. Embarrassment to rugby league. I think we're being nice.
That Penrith New South Wales Cup team beats the Tigers first grade team by 20, and it's not even a joke.
No, absolutely not a joke. I think F is being too nice. If we could go lower, I would.
We'll give them a W. Who's next?
Warriors. Returning home. Had a couple of good wins late. Was it enough to save them from getting an F?
No.
I agree. I think, they signed Sean Johnson. All the talk was, Reece Walsh, Johnson, going to be the most exciting pairing, this and that, blah, blah, blah. We're going home. Didn't back it up.
And no one wants to go back there.
They don't. It was a real shame. Like, losing Matt Lodge player-wise is a real loss.
Human-wise, good effort.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. But, there's a fair few players. We've seen players come out and say, oh, actually, I don't want to go there. What do you expect? He signed for New Zealand. But on and off the field, not real great. I want to give a shout out to the fans who sold out, I think, 5 of their 6 games or whatever it was going back. The bloke doing the shoey was probably their best player all season.
Mm-hmm.
They were awful.
Yeah. There's nothing else you can say. Nathan Brown as well, I know he took that job on, said that I don't want to go back to New Zealand. They let him go. Stacey Jones comes in. They've signed a really good coach out of Penrith junior ranks that's, gone under the radar. Webster's gone under the radar. Not enough. They haven't signed any big name players. Sean Johnson just looks old, man. Reece Walsh has gone. They're getting Tamari Martin. They're getting Luke Metcalf.
Yeah, I don't think the season's... it wasn't very good.
Fail.
Who's next, Terry?
Newcastle Knights.
Oh, the Newcastle Knights.
F.
Yeah.
Fail.
Trying to be nice, trying to be positive. I can't find anything good to say about this side.
You knew their season was an F when they released Mitchell Pearce and their plan A, B and C was to get Luke Brooks. And when they didn't get Luke Brooks, they just went, oh, well.
Will do.
Yeah. Lucky that the girls can play footy.
Exactly right. Their success has really papered over what was a horrible season for Newcastle. Kalen Ponga, has so much talent. He doesn't have the heart or the brains, to be totally honest. I love the guy as a player, but
But he dragged Newcastle through the mud and media, and it wasn't until Wayne Bennett turned around and said, if you come and sign for the Dolphins, I'm going to challenge you physically, mentally, and break you until you become the best player. And Ponga went, well, that sounds too hard. I want to take Newcastle.
We signed big money Newcastle.
Yeah.
He's not a captain.
No.
They've got to get rid of it. Going back, though, Mitchell Pearce, I said in the preseason that doomed their season.
Yeah.
Even if Brooks had gone, it's not a replacement. Okay, don't get me wrong, Pearce is on the wrong end of his career, but when your best bet is Milford getting released from his South Sydney contract...
and released from prison...
to go play football, you're in all sorts. And I thought, look, a couple of their forwards, I thought the big boys, the Saifidis, were fantastic.
And Clemmer was I don't care, Clemmer was their best player this year.
Completely fair, one of those 3, but outside of that...
They gave it to Tyson Frizzell.
Dom Young was pretty good. I thought he had a good season.
Yeah, they had a few shining lights, but they were few and far between.
They were, and I think anything less than a finals backup was just...
How Adam O'Brien still has a job is unbelievable. Let's move on.
Now, Terry, moving on to my Gold Coast Titans.
F.
This is a team that should have played finals football and was more looking like a wooden spoon until the Tigers got really, really bad.
This was the team that finished 8th and should have beaten the Roosters to go to the next week 2 of the 2021 finals. Patrick Herbert wouldn't pass the ball. What happened?
I don't know. I just... Nothing worked. Campbell didn't take that kick on till late in the season. AJ Brimson couldn't find form till late in the season. David Fafita still waiting. Their best player was Tino by a mile, and I don't think it was even close.
But
both Fermo was very good, but
if you release Jamal Fogarty to play Toby Sexton, and at the end of the year your halfback's Tanner Boyd, you've made a wrong call somewhere.
Yes.
Now, going into the season, they didn't have a position for AJ Brimson. They're like, 6, fullback, centre, utility. What are you going to do with him?
He's their best player on his day.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have to find a position. They have to say, what's your position? And he plays it and work around it. Now, I think Jaden Campbell's got to be the one because he is a freak.
Yeah.
They look better with the 2 in the squad.
But so is Brimson.
Brimson's a better fullback than anywhere else. But Valentine Holmes was a good winger, very good fullback. They needed a centre. He played centre and won centre of the year. I think Brimson's got to do what Val did next week. They say, we need you to play this position. He plays it every week.
Well, I mean, if you have a look at the team, they need him to play prop.
They need him to play about 4 positions, to be totally honest. I was disgusted by this team. I copped so much grief all year. The reason I jumped on the Titans, because Top Sport sponsors them off field, so we jumped on thinking this would be good. Terry wouldn't do it. I'm sad I did.
There are so many players that regressed this year. Mo Fodawaker regressed, lost his origin spot. Their back row, David Fafita, as you said, Kevin Proctor got sacked for vaping. Herman Sciesci was in and out of the team. Isaac Liu. Yeah. Now, we wanted him to go to Cronulla. He went to the Titans and we were shattered. Yeah. And you're looking at it now going, geez, if he had come to us on that form, he's playing New South Wales Cup.
We dodged a bullet there. It was just awful. I don't know what's going on with that club, but that roster is better than a lot of teams we're going to talk about the next few minutes.
But Greg Marju as well was like a tackle-breaking, metre-eating machine, and they're dropping him for Corey Thompson.
Every second week. Now, I have a problem with Holbrook. The bloke comes with, he's got a whole heap of wins under his belt. Last year you got him to the finals, good stuff, but you've got a core group of players like Brimson, Marju, Fafita, Fodawaker. Those 4 were playing different positions every week. Dropping Fafita, okay, you had a quiet game, you got to put him on the bench. No, good players come good. You got to give him a chance. He never gave them the chance to find it and then goes, why aren't you playing well? You don't know which position you're playing until you turn up on the day. It's like under 7s.
Toby Sexton. You've sacked your halfback to make this guy the future. And as I said, at the end of the year, your starting hooker was your half.
He should have played 16, 18 games. Yeah. Absolutely awful. F for you.
Dan?
The first of the teams to not get an F?
I'd say so.
The Bulldogs.
I'll give them a D.
Yeah, I think they underperformed compared.
D for Dogs.
Very clever. They signed very, very well. I would still maintain that they signed the best of any team. Matt Burton, for all the positive he got, probably didn't do enough for mine, but Tavita Pangai Jr. You want to talk about players that came on reputation and didn't deliver, he's number 1, 2 and 3.
Yeah, look, they signed a lot of really good players, like Paul Vaughan, I thought was outstanding for them.
I thought Addo Carr played really well too.
Towards the end of the season.
He had to re-find his feet.
Yeah, Braden Burns, look, he was a player that I wanted to end up at Cronulla. He signed a deal at the Dogs and sort of in and out of first grade. But it was rookies that came in or their bit part players. Like Jeremy Marshall-King went from being an absolute joke to being the Kiwi starting number 9. Yeah. That's how good he was.
I thought Avarillo, when he moved to fullback, was very, very good.
Outstanding move. But the problem for them was they didn't have a halfback and they kept switching around their halfbacks. Could have just put Matt Burton at the 7.
Yeah, look, they probably should have. I mean, Burton can only do so much. Yeah. I'm not too. I thought he had a good season, not great. I'm not too negative.
I thought he was really good. For what he had around him, he had a forward pack that couldn't go forward, a back line that didn't know what they were doing, and a bucket load of injuries. I thought Matt Burton was real, and he did enough to get himself in the Origin team. Yeah,
and Australia too. Yep. I think overall it was always going to be a building year for the Dogs. Yep. I think they were probably 2 or 3 wins short of what we expected. Yep. They lost some games where you're thinking, oh God. When they sacked Trent Barrett, they had that 3 week stretch or 2 or 3 weeks where they blew teams off the park. They smashed Parramatta. I'll never forget how their car run and everything's going, and they look good. That I wanted to see more. Yep. But there were too many games like against Cronulla where if they were still playing now, 7 weeks later, they still haven't scored a point.
Yeah, Potter did what he could.
He did.
And all Mick Potter had to do was not be Trent Barrett, and congratulations to what he did. He got him away from the spoon.
He did. Now look, Serrato comes in, Kikia comes in, Reid Marnie comes in. They've recruited well on and off the field. Next year has to be the year they make the 8. This year they'll look back on and say it was a year where they established. Mm-hmm. It's still not a pass mark for me. It's a D.
I'll go against you there. I don't think they make the 8 next year because they still don't have a halfback.
Fair call.
Matt Burton can't do it all. Then.
Who's next?
Manly.
We beat it twice in a year.
Yeah, well, look, they weren't real Manly this year.
They were awful.
And their season ended on a couple of colours on a jersey.
It did. Now, to be honest,
I think... They were in the 8. Sorry? They were in the 8.
I think they were on the downward slide. They use that as an excuse. And partly valid, but I think it, again, papers over cracks that were already there. They're too reliant on Tommy Turbo. We knew it going in. DCE, for as incredible as he is,
33.
You know what he was. Kieran Foran's the same. Like, this isn't 26-year-old Kieran Foran anymore, or 23-year-old Kieran Foran. You know, I thought Ruben Garrick was arguably their best player, which says a lot because he's a bloke that'll probably never play for New South Wales. So, you know, Jake Trbojevic I thought was very ordinary. They don't have a number 9. Their plans fell through, you know, and they've got to find a long-term number 9.
Yeah, I mean, their plans fell through in a bad way this year. Look, you know, you joked about it. People always turn around and were saying that at the beginning of the year, you know, Cronulla weren't going to do anything because you could just come back to a Manly fan and say, well, the minute Tom Turbo hurts himself, his season's over. The minute Tom Turbo hurt himself, the season was over.
They were gone, yeah.
DCE, look, again, we were just talking about with Matt Burton. DCE is a fantastic player, one of the best halfbacks to have graced the competition in the last decade. Premiership winner, State of Origin winner, World Cup winner. He's done it all. And he hasn't done it by fluke, right? But you're talking about a guy whose forward pack's getting belted every week, and his back line was made up of rookies.
Yeah, completely fair.
That's all they could do. Kieran Foran, like, once he signed that big deal for the Titans, he was like,
yeah, I just
got to put myself in cotton wool. Ruben Garrick went to fullback, and when anyone ever made a break, he was just like, I ain't tackling.
Yeah, it's very disappointing. I mean, I'm not going to cry too many tears.
I'm not going to cry too many tears either.
I'm willing to say this is a D because this side, even with Turbo out, should be making the 8 or at least going for the 8.
Yep.
8 weeks out, they weren't making finals.
Yeah,
so
they capitulated. Absolutely.
A big D for me.
Next up, the St George Illawarra Dragons,
Little brother,
otherwise known as Little Brother, exceeded my expectations this year.
Fair.
I thought they were going to be in a bottom 4 dogfight. They signed big imposing men like Aaron Woods. That's about it.
Josh Maguire.
Yeah, I mean, but he's been there for a while. He's a bully. Look, shining light for them. None of their rookies left, even though they wanted to, and Ben Hunt played his heart out.
Ben Hunt was absolutely incredible. He's the difference between them finishing where they did and them being absolutely irrelevant, more so than they are. Look, outside of Ben Hunt, name one player who played really well this season. It's not Lomax.
Well, I will say Moses Sully probably was better.
Yeah, okay, he was better.
But got hurt.
But your big superstar, Lomax, very ordinary. The Twins...
Couldn't find a full, but again, Hook wouldn't set on a fullback.
Look, Ramsey, to his credit, played pretty well, and he deserved that number 1.
But it took him so long to get there. They went Sloan, they went Lomax, they went everyone else. They went Moses.
Yeah.
By.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. And then they went, we'll give the fast kid on the wing a go, and he turned out to be pretty good.
The super talented young footballer with all the history. I'm not disappointed that they missed the 8 by so far, but you kind of want... No, we don't want the Dragons to do well, but there's certain players in that team. Like, again, Lomax, I go back to it. This is a guy who should be playing Origin.
Yeah.
He's got all the talent in the world. I don't know what's missing. I don't know whether he just needs a change of scenery. He needs a coach to come in and go, pull your head in or play New South Wales Cup. I don't know what it is. They can't unlock him.
He's got to look at this Australian team that's been named today with the lack of outside backs, and Campbell Graham, for all his credit, good player, is not Zach Lomax on his day. And Zach Lomax has to look at that and go, I should have been in that squad.
There's 6 or 7 players unavailable, headlined by Turbo and Toto, and he wasn't even in the discussion. That says everything you need to say.
Jesse Ramian was in the discussion before Lomax wasn't. That's what you need to know about it.
So, look,
I give him a C minus.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd say minus because, again, this is a side that should be playing finals football. I had people at work telling me that they'll finish ahead of the Sharks. Just want to get that on camera so I can send it to you on Facebook.
Dan.
What?
Brisbane Broncos.
Oh, if you'd asked me 8 weeks ago, A. If you ask me now,
C. Yeah. Look.
Should have played finals football. Set themselves up.
Did well to not be in the wooden spoon contention.
You signed... Adam Reynolds, and you shouldn't be in the
Kurt Capewell.
Contention. 2 superstar signings, both played very, very well. But
to start off the year.
Fair.
Capewell ended the year really bad.
He did, and it probably cost him a spot in the
Absolutely cost him a World
I thought Reynolds was real good, considering that, they played, 25 games, and I still don't know who their 5'8" is.
Well, I mean, his best games were with Tyson Gamble.
Yeah, completely fair.
I think Ezra Mam took too much away from Adam Reynolds because he just runs so much.
Mam's a better player than Gamble for mine, and I think he's the future. But yeah, you got to pick the combination that works, not the two best players always.
And another, fullback. They had Tessie New, they had Tamari Martin. They put anyone back. Like, I just don't know. Albert Kelly, yeah, he had a crack at it as well.
Another player, Katoni Staggs. It's Zach Lomax all over again. A bloke that should be playing. He's out of the World Cup. His arm was in a sling today in the Curry Cup, which is a real shame. But that was his opportunity to go and show Australia. Oh, you missed out. But I wouldn't have picked him.
Yeah, look, Payne Haas, another one as well.
Look, Pat Carrigan was very, very good until his suspension.
How Payne Haas got in the Dalian Team of the Year? Yeah,
I don't think he deserved it. I think there were 4 or 5 better front rowers. But again, this is a team that set themselves up to play finals football and had the capitulation of all capitulations. All they had to do was avoid losing by 40 3 weeks in a row. And they did that and said to Canberra, here you go.
And to give themselves a shot, they had to beat the Dragons. That Dragons team was in Bali a month before that game.
Yes, and they got flogged. But again, they were in a position where they could have lost every game running in as long as they kept the score respectable. They copped 60 to Penrith or Melbourne, and then they copped the flogging to the Tigers. I mean, come on, boys.
Yeah, if you lose to the Tigers, you don't deserve to be playing finals footy.
Exactly right. I think they're lucky to get a C. If we were based in the last 4 weeks, this is a Z. This is disgusting.
Well, the final 4 weeks, they were the worst team in the competition, and the Tigers existed. Let's move into the finals teams. Now, Canberra Raiders crept into the top 8. 8th spot. Got themselves to the second week of finals.
They did.
I'll give them a C+.
I think,
Or a B-.
I'm sitting on the fence in this one. On one side, I think this squad is way better than 8th spot.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, I don't think they played well enough to get in the finals, and they're only there because Brisbane gifted them. I'm going to give them a C, right in the middle, because they played finals, they played very well in finals. They were flogged in a game that they, many thought, myself included, they were right in. So ultimately, they let themselves down. That playing roster, especially when you added Fogarty, and they came good when he came in, is way too good to be struggling for finals. I think C's fair.
That forward pack on its day is absolutely outstanding. The back line clicked. You can see when teams just click. I bagged Matt Timoko, no all end. Sebastian Chris, I thought was real average. Did so well. And then Kotrick comes back home. He's not in the Bulldogs jersey anymore. He's back in his lime green. He's absolutely loving his footy. Jordan Rapana, second biggest grub in the game for mine. But he's outstanding. He's absolutely outstanding. Hudson Young went to a new level. They got Zach Wolford out of reserve grade and turned him into a first grader. You're right, this team's too good to have finished 8th. But the way they started the season and to then turn around and go, we were waiting on Jamal Fogarty. Ricky Stewart turned around and said, if we didn't have all these injuries, we would have been a top 4 team. Yeah, well, if I didn't eat cheeseburgers when I was younger, I wouldn't be fat, Ricky. These things happen.
You can't play these games, mate. Look, I think Ricky Stewart ran out of ideas, and they're only there because Brisbane was so terrible at the back end. But it's another final series that they could have gone very deep.
And they copped Melbourne when you want to catch Melbourne.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Yeah, I think C's completely fair. They were bog average. They probably underperformed, but I would argue that they only got there because Brisbane was so bad.
Now, South Sydney Rabbitohs finished 7th, got themselves to another prelim. Shit the bed. What do you do? I'll give them a B-.
Yeah, I think they overachieved considering that they lost a pretty handy full halfback and a coach who, kind of knew what he was doing. Demetrio gets an A+ for me. He grabbed them, he dragged them all the way in. Look, Latrell Mitchell was the stats probably don't back it up because you look at him and you think, he's pretty quiet. Their running streak started when Latrell Mitchell came back. That's no coincidence. It lifted everyone. Cody Walker got better. Yeah, Cam Murray was their player.
They lost one game in the run into their finals, and that was to us. They lost the Roosters as well, but
that doesn't count. It's only funny when you lose to Cronulla. Look, this is a team who, they were probably the most likely to beat Penrith in the finals, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
I think they overachieved.
I think they overachieved and underachieved at the same time. Overachieved because Lachlan Ilias was a rookie, and then you had Blake Taff. What are you going to do with him? Underachieved because that's a top 4 squad.
It is, yeah. Their forward pack you know...
Like dismantled teams
Now,
if they
look,
wanted to.
you say at the start of the... Okay, Nichols and Totola, their forward pack. That's probably in the bottom 4 or 5 starting props. Now, I mean, Totola's...
One of their best props.
So good.
And Burgess found a new leash of life as well when he wasn't decapitating people. Look, South Sydney, 5 prelims, 1 grand final, 0 premierships, window shut.
Window shut, yeah, fair call. Look, Campbell Graham, very, very good. They're an easy team to like, but they're an easy team to dislike. Much like the Sharks, I've been told. Just want to throw that in there. I don't really know how to rate South, because you look at it and say, okay, that squad finished 7th. That's not good enough. They made a prelim. That's better than what they asked. I think it's... What'd you say, C?
That's a B.
Yeah, I'll go B. I think they did very good. If they played the other side of the draw, they'd probably play a grand final. So, yeah. Into the top 6 we go, Terry, with the Sydney Roosters.
Underachievers.
Hugely underachievers. We had them second in the pre-season.
You have a look at that squad that they had, and then they added Matt Lodge. Yeah. When they added Matt Lodge, they were belting teams.
Yeah, they were. I mean, you saw the run in on the Daily M's. Tedesco. 4 weeks or 3 or 4 weeks in a row.
They were destroying teams.
Now, Trent Robinson, for all his fantasticness, and he's a great coach. You can't argue otherwise. Started the season, Luke Keary at 7, Sam Walker at 6. Everyone said, just flip him.
Just flip the switch.
Just flip him. And he said, nah, I know what I'm doing. When did they come good, Terry?
When he flipped it.
I think that cost... Look, Luke Keary started the season terribly and ended it really good. I don't think that's a coincidence. Sam Walker's a freak. He's going to play for Queensland, possibly Australia one day. They got the best fullback of the modern era, not named Billy Slater and James Tedesco. They're just... That side, they should have finished top 4. To lose in round 1 of the finals just isn't good enough.
No, and they had... There were so many different things where they were like, who are we going to put at centre? You had a kid on the wing who could have just literally gone and played on the other side of the field. And if you put Suwali next to Tupou, that's destructive.
Yeah, it's real good. I thought Momorowski, to his credit, played okay.
But they kept dropping him.
That was the one that really had me confused, because it's not like he was the worst player in the park.
No, and I think they put a lot of eggs in the Billy Smith basket, but, I mean, his legs are made of prawn crackers.
Yeah,
he ain't
so
playing
unfortunate.
footy again.
He's such a good young talent.
That forward pack, Warrior Hargraves, Matt Lodge, what really cost them, though, that finals game, the capitulation, you can't go out losing like that, but the ill discipline of the Roosters, it's there. And the minute Victor Radley, he's the one that holds that pack together, and the minute he loses his cool, everyone loses their cool.
Gornsky's, he's the gel in that team. I think they underachieved. Yeah. I'm going to give them a C because they did make finals. Now, the carry-on the week before where they smashed South, I thought they were going to go on a run. I thought they were the most likely team to challenge Penrith. Then they got flogged the next week. So for making fools of me, C-.
I'll give them a C, but yeah. Melbourne Storm, Dan. You and I had them as big sliders in the pre-season. I think you had them 4th. I had them 6th. They finished They finished in the middle.
So we do know what we're talking about. Look, another Melbourne year. To play Ricky Stewart, if Pappenhausen stays fit, they go much deeper. But I want to put this out there, Terry. If Nicho Hynes is at the Storm, they finish top 4 very easily. Him not being there to call upon when Pappenhausen got hurt was the difference this year.
But it wasn't only that. This is the first time in forever, to quote Elsa from Frozen, this is the first time that not just one player has got injured. Pappenhausen spent some time on the sideline. Munster spent some time on the sideline. Hughes spent time on the sideline as well. Harry Grant missed extended periods of the game. Brandon Smith couldn't control his emotions. So this is, you saw the Storm starting to unravel now. But the other thing, they looked old and they looked tired. And Craig Bellamy just didn't sign anyone who looked like they couldn't play footy anymore. Let them all go to the Dolphins for a big paycheck. Mm-hmm. Bellamy knows that he's going to have to churn through some New South Wales Cup players. Their Queensland Cup teams did pretty well this year. He's just going to drag a whole heap of forwards down there. Whoever impresses in the pre-season is going to get those contracts. I think they'll be all right. I'll give them a B-.
Yeah, I'm happy with a B-. Now look, Nick Meaney became a better player as they did. Xavier Coates was very, very good, and probably should have been in the Aussie side if he played more games. So but their backline just wasn't what it usually was. There was no Vunivalu, Corabetti, that freaky player that comes score.
Yeah.
They definitely, they weren't the team they were. The teams were, the games where Cam Munster was the best player on the field, they struggled a little bit. Jerome Hughes was a bit up and down, had a very good start to the year. Brandon Smith had his worst year at Melbourne by a long way.
But again, because they didn't have a position for him. Like, you've taken the Dally M hooker of the year and said, where are you going to go? Like, playing him at prop, playing him here, playing him there. The best thing they did was let him go.
Yeah, he'll go be a superstar with the Roosters. Melbourne didn't finish in the top 4. You know, the world is upside down. They lost to their bogey team in Melbourne, home final. That's a failure for the Storm. Most teams will be happy with that every year. Yeah, B minus, C plus. Yeah, it was a pass, but only just.
Fourth place, Parramatta Eels, grand finalists, flogged.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Good season.
Great season. It's an A season for me.
It's an A minus.
Yeah, we said that they'll be in the top 4 thereabouts, and we were proven correct. I didn't see them making the grand final. Oh, well, I was
spoiler. I had them at 7th.
I didn't see them making the grand final. Full disclosure. I think their grand final was going up and beating the Cowboys in front of a huge hostile crowd and really hot weather. They came back. Penrith have beaten anyone.
Yeah.
I don't care who they play. So I think it's a big win.
At the beginning of the season, when Parramatta lost all their players, like when Papali said he was going, when Reid Marnie said he was going, Oregon Kaufusi signed before round 1 with Cronulla, and Brad Arthur turned around and said, there's going to be more bleeding, more players are going to leave. Blake Ferguson didn't return. He was a big part of their team last year. And he said, it's now or never. It was always going to be never. But when he said, we have to win the premiership this year, I was like, Brad, you ain't even going to make the grand final.
Yeah.
So to make the grand final, I give him an A.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah.
Some of the decisions and some of the games they had during the year, though.
Like getting smashed by the Tigers, you can't lose to the Tigers and expect to win a premiership. That's the rule, as you said earlier in the broadcast. Decent side on paper. Probably overperformed a little bit considering, the outside backs outside of Sevo aren't real great.
No.
Gutho was real good. I thought Moses was good. Dylan Brown had his career best season. Marnie was great. Paulo, Campbell Gillard, Papali, they were more good than bad.
Sean Lane for 6 weeks was the best player in the competition.
Hugely unfortunate to miss out on a Kangaroos spot.
Yeah, that's a big one.
So, look, overall though, to lose only to Penrith on grand final day, that's a very, very good season. Unfortunately though, their window right now, kaboom.
Third place, no one saw this coming. You and I both had them as wooden spooners. Happy to eat some humble pie. Glad they didn't make the grand final. North Queensland Cowboys, Dan, less said the better.
Yeah, A++ for mine. They were the overachievers of the season.
Surprise packet.
That word a lot. We bagged Chad Townsend. Look, he fits their system. When push came to shove, not the greatest performance, but Scott Drinkwater.
Yeah,
Scott Drinkwater.
You're right. Chad Townsend fit the system, and this is what he did in 2016. Pass the ball to your best players.
Spot on.
Pass the ball to Jason Taumalolo, Ruben Cotter, Scott Drinkwater, Tom Dearden, let Reece Robson run the show from number 9, which is what he did with McInnes.
Exactly right. In the pre-season, we put our best 17 together, and we didn't know who to put in the back row. Jeremiah Nana, who's that?
Yeah.
Dally M.
Rookie of the year.
Rookie of the year, second rower of the year for mine. Freakish player, will play in the World Cup. Genius. Ruben Cotter, he's a 9. What are you doing putting him in the front row? Great player. Val Holmes, we laughed at when they named him at centre, thinking, world's best winger and you're putting him in the centres? Yeah, good one, idiot. Again, humble pie, serve it to me.
And I'm sitting there thinking, how are you keeping Hamasai Tabio Fidao out of the team for Petahiku? Yeah. And that's how.
That's how, but they only came good when they brought Scott Drinkwater in, which we called, so we got one right out of 17, for him to be included. And when he came in, they just clicked and they were, one try away from the grand final, which is
they were a 10-minute meltdown away.
Unfathomable.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations, Todd Payton as well, Coach of the Year. Thoroughly deserved it.
Still doing his speech though.
Yeah, when you compare him and Fitz, they were the only 2 candidates from 9th to 2nd or 15th to 3rd. It was always going to be him. Congratulations, Hot Todd. Glad you didn't win the comp though. Rounding out the Penrith Panthers, look, they won everything apart from Harold Matthews. If they had a women's team, they probably would have won that.
Yeah, very true.
A++++++. This is not only a dynasty, this is a genuine, frightening rugby league club. This is a powerhouse.
It is a powerhouse.
This is the best team in the NRL era.
Yes. You could throw the Roosters there.
Nope.
But I'm going to agree with you. They didn't have the success in the undergrades that came with. Now, they're going to lose
The
some
Roosters
talent.
sell their soul to win premierships.
They do. Penrith
have built the foundations
Now,
for years to come.
Kickout goes out, Luke Garner comes in, bit of a downgrade.
Or Zach Hoskins.
Both great players. You know, they lose Appy Coruscant. Your mate comes
Sonny
in.
Luke.
You know, absolute genius footballer. There's potential. Now, Stephen Crichton looks like he might be on the Bulldogs. They had the top scorer in New South Wales Cup. He comes in at centre. There's just... I hate this club. They're too good. Now,
They've got the answer for everything.
They do, except grand final celebrations. You think they'd be better at them, having a year to practice? They're terrible. Everything they do. Did you see Luai smoking a cigar with the wrong end in his mouth? And that was the third worst thing you did this past 24 hours. So, boys, next year when you're celebrating, put the phones away.
Yeah, I don't understand it, because the minute you win the comp, you're going to get a skinful of booze into you, right? Yeah. Where's the manager going, boys? Phones in.
In the bucket.
In the bucket. You'll know which one's yours. Hit your screensaver on it. We'll make sure they're all charged up. Phones in the bucket. You can't be posting pictures going, my N-word. Yeah. Come on, lads. There was a picture going around of William Kickow at the bottle shop this morning. The brother was throwing up. The phones, just get rid of them, fellas.
Put them away.
I'm all for you throwing up. I'm all for it.
If you don't, you're a wuss.
But it doesn't need to be on your story.
No, it's just... Tara, I want to like them.
Yeah.
They're a team like no one we've ever seen. And Dylan Edwards and Isaiah Yeo are arguably, behind Nico Hines, Toby Rudolph, the most likeable players in the game. Outside of that, they are very difficult. Very difficult to like.
I love everything about Penrith, the football club, but the 17 players that represent them don't do them any justice. As you said, there's two of them that do. I mean...
Okay, so I don't mean to go on a tangent here, but the grand final clips have come out today, the post-match celebrations, and you've got them cheering about how much they hate Parramatta. You've just won back-to-back cops. You've won everything, and you talk about Parramatta. Number one, don't talk about number two. That's the rule. You got Appy Coruscant, who has been the face of that club this year because Cleary's been out for so long, coming in and laughing at the Tigers when he's just signed to pay for them for almost $1 million for the next 2 seasons. Not a lot of brains in that 17, but a whole lot of football talent. A++.
A++++. Congratulations, Penrith.
See you in the grand final next year, maybe?
Hopefully. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Rugby League Outlaws, brought to you by Punctured Media, our good friends at Top Sports, onelittlefootyfan.com.au, and the Stubby Club. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Trash Dan, Dan, what are you doing?
Penrith Reels, baby.